Descriptive research is looking at characteristics of observed phenomena, which means we are looking at something and we are observing something, and then we are talking about what we observed. So we are basically describing things. When we look at descriptive research, we are doing it as is. We are not modifying things. So we are describing. We are not controlling variables. What we're looking at is we're looking at big picture, and then we're trying to interpret from there. Descriptive research often takes into account sampling, which means we have to be able to sample an area, look at what's going on within that area, and get our information out of that sampled area. We make observations. Rather than change variables, we are doing observational material, which means we're going out there, we're looking at things. And sometimes it takes into account interviewing. Sometimes we ask people what's going on and we ask what their concept of this is. And all of that is as is, where we have no modification in what we're doing. On observational studies, these take a lot of planning. You can't go out and not do an observational study going, I'm just going to do this and go out and walk into it. No, you have to plan. You have to figure out how you can do this best, which way it goes. So therefore, there is a lot of planning involved in it before you ever go out and do these studies. You need to have meticulous attention to detail. You have to make sure that the words you choose and what you use are extremely well thought out, so that you have to have meticulous attention to detail when you go out and start these studies. Observational studies take a great deal of time. If you look at what Jane Goodall did with the lowland gorillas, she spent decades out there doing these observational studies, trying to figure out what they were doing so that she could come back and report on them. Sometimes we do deal with correlation research in here. How does one variable or characteristic relate to differences in one or more independent variables? So we're looking at, basically in correlation research, we're looking at independent variables in here. This shows you a chart. This was on a study we did where we increased tissue calcium and we looked at disease rating. And in it, our variable was tissue calcium. So we checked, see how much increase in tissue calcium we had in the determined plants and where our disease rating came in. And you can see that based on the graph we got here, we got a very good correlation, a very high correlation with the amount of things we did. So we have two basically independent variables. One's tissue calcium and one is disease rating. And therefore, we're looking at a correlation type research. Correlation does not prove cause and effect. It just shows that the two things are interrelated. It doesn't show that one's the cause of the other or one's the effect of the other. No, it just shows that they are interrelated. The other thing that you have with correlation is it doesn't provide predictive capabilities, which means when you looked at that graph, there was a start point, there was an end point on the graph. You cannot extend that line out and expect to come up with an idea of where things are going based on that extended line. When we deal with descriptive, we look at design. We can look at, let's say, children's age, how they correlate with reading level. This is one of the common things they do. In elementary school, they're constantly out there testing these kids, and as they do it, they get this mega data, and this mega data looks at how we can correlate ages and reading level. So it gives us an interesting thing to look at. You can do cross-sectional studies where you look at one group, another group, and then you can look at the cross-section or the midpoint of each one of them and see how they come in. And again, this is all descriptive. You can look at cohorts, and cohorts are basically defined as a group of subjects with a common defining characteristic. When we look at the university, we talk about the cohort of students who came in one particular year, or we might talk about the cohort within that are students who are first time in college versus somebody else who transferred in. Or we might look at those students who are first time in college out of their family versus those students who already have educated family members. So you can look at cohorts, and cohorts become very, very important in this.